Be all eyes on Manchester this Saturday. United and City meet for the 183rd time.
It has been a rollercoaster season so far for both red and blue half of Manchester. So who will come out on top this time out?
United, City divided. Michael Owen wins it! One football match in front of a billion pairs of eyes. Rooney! Oh, wonderful! This is not some neighbourly row. Oh, it's the captain! This is Manchester. And this is Manchester's day. Balotelli! A seismic day in English football. Pogba! Shades of red! If City win the match, City win the league. Smalling! Reds have delayed the blue parade. Dismantled by the noisy neighbours. Van Persie! Countless generations have known it. Spiky, charged, tribal. No other way to describe it.
Manchester derby this weekend. Darren Lewis and Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank are here to look ahead to that and all our topics of conversation today. Let's start though with the Manchester derby and where the teams are, not necessarily in the table, but in terms of their development, because they're poles apart really.
Yeah, I think City seem to be clicking back into that kind of smooth rhythm what they had, especially the way we saw them demolish, who was it they demolished the other day? Fulham. You know what I mean? And, you know, Fulham coming off of a nice little run themselves, but it is City. And the way they played, it's the first time I've seen City for a long time passing the ball a lot quicker through that area of the field. And that's what they used to do very, very well. And, you know, you look at Manchester United and what they're going through at the moment, you have to feel at this particular moment, even though they seem to respond in a pressure situation like this for Ole, you do feel like, you know, City going into this game surely should be going with a lot more confidence.
It's interesting looking at where they are, because actually in terms of their form, it's not that much between them, and yet the perception is very different.
The perception is totally different because they are not playing that well, they are not fluent. It's very difficult how they are winning matches, and it's not as pretty to the eye as it should be from a Man United team. But then still, you know, they are 3 points behind Chelsea, who they have got one game less as well, so they can come equal on points, and that's just a fact. But then still, when you look at Man United, how they are winning games, it's painful. You know, they have to go to that extra bit just to get over the line. I don't think against Man City that they can have a first half as they have done in the last 3-4 weeks. Yeah. If Man City gets two goals up, it's done. Because they can just keep the ball for fun, and they will. So they will have to start their game really, really well. Otherwise, I will fear for them.
Yeah, we sort of saw that a little bit in midweek in their Champions League games, in that Manchester United, again, another poor half, and that meant that RB Leipzig could put the game beyond them. And then for Manchester City, picked quite a strong team in a game that didn't really matter, but they want to keep that rhythm going.
I mean, with United, the point that Jimmy made is it was one I was going to make. They've conceded the first goal in 7 of their last 9 matches, Manchester United.
They come back to win, though. They
came back to win, but against good sides, they haven't. Against sides like Everton and West Ham, they could get away with it. But against PSG, against Arsenal, against Leipzig, they weren't able to get away with it because good teams take advantage when you start so slowly. What could be quite key in the Manchester derby this weekend is Sergio Aguero, because we saw he's back in the old routine. Wednesday night, scored a goal, and the manner of the goal that he scored was very much Aguero, hanging around to get the bits and pieces, basically tucking it away. Does he start the match? Because he's added injury problems. And they'll be very patient, feeling their way back with him. You two are strikers, so you can tell me if you feel he will start the game or if you feel that they will be patient. Because if he comes on second half, United are generally at it by then. If you look at Southampton, you look at West Ham, they'd obviously come out and they'd woken up and they were able to respond and score the goals. To Rashford was fantastic. But as you say, it could be beyond them against a higher caliber team like City.
If Man City is ahead, Man United still has to open up more, and Man City is cuter when they know they are 2-0 up or 1-0 up, that they're going to get space and utilize that space, behind that defense.
But Jim, you've both been strikers. If you're Aguero, do you want to start that match?
Yeah. Simply because, especially the way they start.
We always want to start. We always want to start.
The thing with it is, Darren, is that if you're looking at it, and like you see with Manchester United start, it's slow. If you've got somebody with the potency of Aguero, he could literally score 3 goals with 3 chances.
Yes.
And if Man United start poorly, then he will take advantage. Then what? You could take him off. But like you say that, but again, you look at Solskjaer and the way they've responded in games like this, where it's kind of like seminal for them, and then they come out and you look at against the Manchester City side that we've seen, you can break on this team. Man United,
you can counter-attack on them.
You can counter-attack on City.
But then of late, City has done other things to stop that counter-attack. They got hurt against Leicester and against another team.
Got demolished against Leicester.
Yeah, they got demolished against Leicester at home, and one other team. But anyway, they now are a little bit more cautious of the counter-attack against.
Yeah, but Jimmy, you say that, but like we're talking about a team like Man United who can counter-attack with real precision.
They can. Well, that's in the second half. This is what I'm saying. The first half, I was at West Ham last weekend. If Sebastian Haller keeps his footing, he scores. If Pablo Fornals takes his chance at the far post, he scores. Jared Bowen takes his opportunity, he scores. Even early in the second half, West Ham came out, United still sleeping. Now, against a side like City, where Sterling can score, Torres can score, Aguero, if he starts the game, can score. You're right, you get a few chances. That opening first half, they're dead. In that first half against Southampton at St Mary's, they were demolished, and it was simply because they came out in the second half, and they obviously had a hairdryer treatment or whatever. Maybe Southampton were complacent, but they got away with it.
Yeah, but then also, how often as a manager can you give a hair drying treatment? You can't do them week in, week out. You know yourself, Ian. Here he comes again. Here he comes again. You switch off. Really? You switch off. So
it's hard to switch off when he's right here.
But he will have to come with something else if it doesn't work out. But I definitely think, and to come back to it, they will have to start well against Man City.
The thing is, you know what? Watching their game against Leipzig was, for me, you could see he set up with 5 at the back, with 2 in front.
What does that say psychologically?
For me, it says that, listen, we just need to get the point, so we're going to defend as best we can, and then if we get something on the break, we'll take it. But when you see 5 at the back, Jim...
Hindsight is beautiful,
You know what I mean? When you see 5 at the back for Man United...
But that's a pattern, though, with Manchester United. They start, Kelly, with so often too cautious, too defensive midfielders, 5 at the back. These are not problems that came up in the game they didn't have to win on Wednesday.
Martial,
they were missing Martial, but you have to give him this. Every time they have played 3 at the back, or 5 at the back, they have done well.
Yeah, but did you see how easy that was the other day?
Yes.
In 15 minutes. Look, now what I'm saying is that in 15 minutes, when you're thinking this is when we need to manage the game and not give them anything. Because remember, Leipzig will be saying, let's really attack on the first 15 minutes, see if we get something, because then we know how they start badly, and they did.
Leipzig has always been an attacking side. Yes. Whatever they do, they've always been an attacking side.
And Man United couldn't deal with it, and they know this.
No, but the best form at times, playing against an attacking team, is to play an attacking team.
And that's why, to put the counter argument to the first half performance, particularly against Leipzig, is that no Martial, no Cavani. So maybe they missed a little bit up front if they were going to try and go on the front, but that might have been on Ole Gunnar's.
The way Man United played in that Champions League qualification, they beat the good teams. Look what they've done to Leipzig and what they were able to do against PSG. I believe
one of the games.
One of the games. But I believe they should go a lot more positive in that game and win the game.
Try to win the game.
Absolutely try to win the game. Man United go in there, but of course they've still got quality.
The mentality is different as well.
Yeah, but the fact is that for that defensive unit to play that badly so early in the game, it says something about the mentality of the players.
To Kenny, I think I totally agree with that, and I think 2 things are at play for Saturday. A, if you're a striker, are you licking your lips at the idea of coming up a defence? Harry Maguire came up the other day and said we didn't start well. How many games can a Manchester United player come out and say we didn't start well? Eventually it comes down to the manager and his mentality, you know, because the manager, the attitude reflects the leadership. Yeah. If Solskjaer is going to basically pay tribute to the resilience of his team in coming back, the focus is in the wrong place. The attitude, I know Keane always says that you should be switched on in the tunnel. You should know where you are with a big game in the tunnel. But even more importantly, against the so-called lesser teams, you should be switched on in the tunnel. And United right now are not that side, and that's the problem.
This is an interesting one because it is a big game. It's at Old Trafford and not in front of fans because it's Tier 3. We're back to the tier system. You'll remember this from previous episodes. So no fans are there for Manchester United, but it's still the fact that they're at Old Trafford just comes back. I mean, even if they weren't, maybe that's how they should approach the game because that's playing to their strengths. But the fact that they're at home, does that mean that we are more likely to see a more front foot approach from Manchester United at the beginning of the game?
Well, I honestly don't know, because when I look at Solskjaer, with the players that he's capable of putting out there, you'd like to think that he's going to go and attack Manchester City and try to, you know what I mean? For me, defensively wise, he should be forcing Manchester City out to the wings, you know, because yes, Aguero's in there, but then if you can force them outside there, Jim, and then get them to have to put the ball in instead of going into those little areas they like to pass it back. If you can stop, if you can,
you don't want them in the middle.
Exactly. If you can, don't want restrict them to that.
But he's going to start with 3 quick players up front. That's what he's going to do because he needs to have that transition. I think mentally wise, this game, Man United will be okay because it's a derby and they don't really need to raise their game. It's the occasion, even though there's no supporters, it is that your rivals that will hype it up and give you a little bit extra. So that aspect, the focus will be better. But I have to come back. You cannot have mistakes, crazy mistakes. You cannot have 50-50 balls between Maguire and De Gea, the third goal against Leipzig. Somebody needs to take a responsibility, yeah? If you do that, you will have a chance. If you don't do that, you're going to be taken to pieces.
They also, what you've both said, sort of speaks to wider issues at Manchester United as well, which is the quality of the squad and whether that squad is under or overperforming, or whether it's at the level it should be. If we look at the starting 11 that probably Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would think would be the best to start against Manchester City, and you may take issue with any of these positions and any of these choices if you like, but if they do start like that, is that a team that is capable of beating Manchester City, and should it be able to do that in a relatively straightforward way?
I think that the front three with Bruno Fernandes is always will cause you problems.
Yeah.
But like for me, the midfield where Manchester City will have control, and like I say, they cannot afford to leave space anywhere. They've got to push Manchester
between the lines.
Absolutely, because as much as the Fred and McTominay and Van der Beek. Yes, you could see them doing what's the creation's got to come from. Well, Fred and McTominay is going to hold, and then Van der Beek will be in and around. Fernandes will go in, and then you've got the pace up front. For me, if I'm looking at this particular team, it's that one there. That as a City player, I'm happy about that. I'm quite happy about that because they're going to have to show me a lot more than they've showed me in the start of games. That team to frighten me. That team doesn't frighten me. Of course, you're going to be wary of giving Fernandes space, leaving space for Rashford to run into, and Greenwood. But I think that they'll have that kind of like worked out. It's good to see Stones' form at the moment, if I'm going to be totally honest. This is going to be a very good test for him. But I believe the start of Manchester City, they will know Man United are not starting well. They will really hone in on that. Yeah. And if they do get a couple, this is what I'm really worried for United, then I want to see what they're capable of then.
What about that Manchester United midfield? That seems to be the area that's most kind of hotly debated amongst Manchester United fans and people who are watching their games. Have they got the balance right there?
Not for me, because a Man United team should not have two defensive midfielders, especially at home, because you're losing that extra, even away. You know, if you're going to Real Madrid or Barcelona, then I can understand in Europe, but domestically, it's one sitting midfielder and two attacking, a Pogba or a Van der Beek with Fernandes, because you can't play without Fernandes. You know, Fernandes is the man at the moment. So for me, that balance, it is too negative. Now you need to have two defensive midfielders, because the two centre halves are not defending that well.
Does it tell us that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer isn't confident in his defence?
Absolutely. To have two. If you have one, it's saying, you know, you need some defensive cover. If you've got two, you know what I mean, you're putting a lot of responsibility on the creative side of someone like Bruno Fernandes. But two, Man United is saying a lot.
I would have resolved it in a different way.
Go on.
I would say, Wan-Bissaka, you stay here. Don't go forward. Just stay next to me, yeah? Telles can go a little bit more, because he is attacking a little bit cuter.
Yeah.
Wan-Bissaka doesn't give any assists. He's a brilliant defender, but doesn't assist. In the final third, he's not as cute, yeah? So his crosses and his final ball is not really that great. So stay. So they always have got three in the back, yeah? So then with that, you can have one sitting midfielder, and you can now put two more attacking central midfielder forward. Yeah. You know, that's how I would resolve it. Instead of having two negative ones and Wan-Bissaka bombing on, and there's no and two of the central midfielders have to stay back. Yeah, now you have four back instead of Wan-Bissaka.
Maybe what they should have done, just quickly, Kel's just saying that, maybe that's why they should have went even more out to get Jadon Sancho, so then you don't need to get someone like Wan-Bissaka forward, because he will do all that work and Wan-Bissaka can defend.
I think what they should have done, Kelly, is maybe not even get Jadon Sancho. Go out and get some leadership in your back line, because we see the difference that leadership makes on a Chelsea team.
That's the next thing.
Salva.
Yeah.
You know, who obviously City when they had company, but even if you look at Diaz, he's given them that stability in that back line at the moment. United don't have that stability. The problem at United is that they're so focused on the commercial benefits of bringing in a Jadon Sancho that they are not seeing the wood for the trees in terms of getting a leader like a Kalidou Koulibaly.
Don't you think that they thought they were going to get that with Harry Maguire as a leader?
I do think so.
But now that means they've got to get another one. They've got to get another one.
He's not a...
I think, listen, you two were both quick strikers when you played. I think quick strikers look at Harry Maguire with all due respect to him and say, I can turn him and I can outpace him. You know, if Chelsea play Manchester United, Timo Werner will leave him for dead, because he just doesn't have that pace. He reads the game very well, but I can't see what all the hype was about him. And I look at Soyuncu that Leicester brought in to replace him, and I think Leicester got the better of that deal. And I don't say that to be disrespectful about Harry Maguire, but I just think there is a problem with United conceding goals. Sometimes they play too high a line. Look at Bahakshahir and this goal that they managed to score. Sometimes they just disorganised at the back. And a good team with potent strike force will take advantage of that, and I expect City to do that.
And then it comes, I mean, again, all these issues around Manchester United aren't specific to games. They're long-running issues that Manchester United have had, which is maybe getting leadership in the defence, which they may have thought they'd bought in Harry Maguire, but they might need a more ball-playing, quicker centre-half alongside him. And then it comes back to the question of recruitment, which is one that we return to time and again with Manchester United.
Yes, and, you know, director of football and all this sort of stuff, what comes into it. You know?
Yes, because who makes the decision of recruitment?
Exactly.
But sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's okay.
Leaders, they got Maguire in, but in a successful team, you cannot have just one leader.
No.
Yeah, you cannot have one.
Agree.
Ask him at Arsenal, you know, when the team was successful, how many leaders, how many characters were in that team?
There was me, Tony Adams.
Do you know, I know you're doing, but the point you're making is a good one as well. And there are different types of leaders. There is this sort of quintessential English, you know, stereotypical leader who shouts.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying.
But
I
you mean
characters.
Yeah.
But the thing is that what with the leaders, and it's a great point. If you've got the right leaders in Manchester United's game the other day against Leipzig, they do not lose that game.
No.
Because you recognise early that, right, we need to stay, we need to just like see this off, because we know that we've got players that can come off the bench. We see what we can do in the second half. Where you manage the game, in-game management. And that's again with a coach. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a good coach. But I think the top players, and I heard my friend Musa say it, the top coaches are the ones that managed in-game to go on to be really top coaches. And I don't think that they manage the in-game properly, because
it's such a good point. Honestly, when you look at Fred, the Fred situation. Well, Fred was sent off, what was the game? Where he was sent off after half-time. He was on a yellow card from the first game.
Take him off.
PSG. You take him off at half-time. You're decisive about what to do in that situation. Solskjaer sits on his hands far too often.
Was that against PSG?
Yeah.
If you look at coaching and how to improve players, you look at Spurs. Spurs don't have a leader in the, Alderweireld, again, respect to his past, is best. They don't have a leader in the mould of a Thiago Silva. But what Mourinho was able to do is coach, organise, get the discipline into that back four, the two players in front of them to protect that back four, and they don't concede that many goals. That's about coaching and understanding the players you've got, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and managing to make sure that you've got a unit who all know what their jobs are. I look at United, they don't all know what their jobs are.
Mourinho would not have lost that game.
No,
of course
no
not.
way.
Minimum, he would have drawn that game. Because he would set up a certain way. He would also not have attacked them crazily, but he would not have lost that game.
Well, you saw it. You saw what he done against Arsenal. He would look at the opponents and see what like a Leipzig would do, and he would have something to nullify them.
Just to come back to that subject of leaders and characters within that side, we talk a lot about what leaders bring. What happens to a side when there aren't leaders in there? Do the players sort of go into themselves? Do they stop playing? Is it a lack of communication between all the different players? How does a leader bring all that
Well, what happens
together?
is, Kels, is like, for instance, even we had leaders, but when Tony wasn't playing, for instance, yes, you'd still got Lee Dixon and Nigel Winterburn, Steve Bold and that, but you feel a little bit more, how can I say, vulnerable. Vulnerable. You feel a little bit more vulnerable because Tony Adams will literally shout to you, and you will literally, you realise what you've got to do with the leaders. Lee Dixon can do it, they can do it, but you don't feel the same about them. But you need that leader that makes you realise. Tony Adams will just, in the game, George Graham would tell us to do one thing, Tony Adams would tell us to do total other thing. Everybody, drop back another five yards for 5 minutes. For 5 minutes, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly.
For 5 minutes, and they say, right, I just want you to stretch them, give us a breather here, and then bam, we'll do that for 5 minutes, and then bam, before you know it, we stretch them, we've got space in the middle again.
Yeah.
That's leadership, taking control, and that's what he used to do.
And that's the same with Silva at Chelsea. He's come in, and everybody's like, wow, because he's done that. He's been in World Cups, he's been so long at PSG, and when he says something, people follow, and that is just the difference. Mendy has come in, and he looks like a, impressive goalkeeper. There is somebody there in the goal. Is he good? Is he bad? We don't know. But you see that he is somebody,
Imposing. Imposing, very imposing. Yeah.
And he might say something simple, but they follow. And you have
simple.
Got that,
simple as just 5 yards there. Come across here.
I watched one of his first games that he played at Stamford Bridge, and he was speaking to all of the defenders, because obviously you can hear everybody. He was speaking in French to his back line. And we were talking to César Azpilicueta and saying, can you all understand it? Can Chilwell understand? And he says, football is a language everyone understands. And this is a thing, straight away, it wasn't even so much that whether there was the linguistic side of it that was being understood. They understood his authority. And they understood
That's the word.
what he wanted from them. And he was clear about what he wanted. And that organisation in that back five is the reason why they only conceded 3 goals in their last 19 games. If you look at United, they don't have that authority. Whether it's De Gea with the spotlight on him, or Dean Henderson who's trying to impress, whether it's Maguire in that central defensive position. It could be that alongside Maguire there isn't enough pace, there isn't enough leadership. Whatever, you guys are players, you know better than me, but I just think you look at that United backline and they have a mistake in them in every game, Kelly, and that's why I expect City to win.